Well, if you understand, South Central, there's always been a strong movement, starting with black folks and the various migrations into South LA and the fact that black folks have had to organize themselves to fight for equity and justice here in the city of LA. As more Latinos came in to the area, you started to see the development of kind of a different analysis that was black-brown to kind of support that long history of movement building in South LA.
After and during the 1992 rebellion, reporters and everyone could see and touch and feel redlining as something that was as alive and well in Los Angeles as police abuse. And that disinvestment and disrespect had a lot to do with each other. When investment finally comes to the community, it's not for the folks who've been living here, who've been struggling here, who've been repairing their own apartments and things like that. It's for capital. It's for people who have a lot of capital to invest for their purposes.
South LA is continually challenged. It's a huge expanse of space and populations. Everybody in our community relates to the experience of losing their neighbors, losing their housemates, and losing institutions in their neighborhood because they're being displaced. Whether it's the local business, the mom and pop business, or the neighbor next door whose rent just went up. Unidad is known for community benefits agreements that are hard fought, they cannibalize the other aspects of an organization, but they must be done to take control or whatever benefit a new development project can be forced or compelled to give to the community. Our organizations have been in the trenches and have been dealing with inappropriate and unjust land uses since our inception.
So the CD Tech piece to this that we bring is not only this collaborative spirit of working with people across the spectrum in the region and connecting to larger kind of citywide and national thinking around this, but it's really also about focusing on building a power base in South LA. Power base of residents, black and brown, young and old, renters, homeless folks, young students, families, a lot of powerful movement started in South Central Los Angeles, and so I guess for us, we inherited that legacy.
So I was born and raised in South Central LA. Single parent household, always moving, didn't really get to connect with the students. I went to 5 different high schools, never completed it. The last school I was at was Eisenhower and Rialto. My sister passed away due to multiple sclerosis while I was in the 12th grade. I was there at the house. Didn't have enough credits to complete. Transitioned back to LA. Struggled a little bit. I just had to figure it out. And at that moment, I separated from my mother because my mother got paid to take care of my sister. Her side of the family took her in, and I had to figure it out. And so it was pivotal in the sense of the impact of her passing away, but also pivotal in terms of me having to man up, so to speak, and just figure out the next pathway. I joined Public Allies after joining the Youth Build program to get my high school diploma and do construction, pipeline to leadership. I got involved with the Unidad Coalition and the People's Plan through City Tech. I was an intern in the Public Allies program, so I had to provide education and outreach. And I was on the civic engagement team, so we did multiple door knockings, holding multiple events to make sure people turned out. We representing black and brown unity by being able to showcase a African American or a black identified person at the door with somebody that's brown or Latinx identified. The idea was for them to get involved with the People's Plan by, one, educating them on the tools that are there for them to do so, and then them being able to come up with what they think should be included in the People's Plan. Like, for instance, planning and land use. Some folks might have a recycling center next to a high school, next to your grandma's house that probably been there for the last 55 years, not realizing through planning and land use or the codes that's incorrect. you should be able to voice your input. A landfill should be by a landfill. A recycling center should be separate from a school. And so we have to educate them to that sense. And once, of course, we did that, they took off running.
Esperanza Community Housing is 30 years old, almost to the day. So we have 9 buildings of housing, 165 units, housing approximately 550 tenant families. In addition to housing, since 1995, we have been creating this very unique health capacity that Esperanza has. We have been training and graduating 533 community residents as community health leaders and promotoras. And they have become one of our greatest constituencies for community organizing. We believe very strongly that not only is housing a fundamental human right, but that it's also critical that families live in security within their home and not be harassed into unaffordable circumstances. We are creating a culture that's based on dignity and respect. And those are not sound bites. They don't happen in an instant. They have to be measured. We all have to be accountable over time. We've created Mercado La Paloma, talk about a long-haul strategy of actually trying to provide opportunities in South Central Los Angeles for families that didn't exist for them before. Avenues for them to become the owners of their own labor and supporters of their own family by doing work that is in their skill set and in their passion.
Yo vengo del país de México, soy de Guerrero, un pueblo muy chiquito. Crecí hasta los 18 años que me vine aquí a Los Ángeles. Aquí fue donde tuve mis hijos. 5 hijos. Cuando uno llega a este país, pues no sabes ni lo que vas a hacer, no sabes ni a dónde vas a llegar. Comencé ya a tener problemas de todo el edificio. Primeramente las cucarachas, ratas, y luego la tubería del primer piso, porque el edificio es de 3 pisos. Yo vivía en el primero, y en el primer piso era el afectado, donde era como un colador desde el primero hasta el último apartamento. Mucha agua caía de los tubos. El agua salía negra y olía mal y caía sobre la cabeza de las personas que salían por el pasillo. Cuando pasó eso, mis hijos tenían de 7 a 15 años. Por esas cosas que había, agarraron asma. Y luego, por lo mismo de lo que pasó en el pasillo, se metió para adentro y se me cayó el techo de mi sala y de la cocina. Era sufrido y me preocupé mucho y rápido en acción. Hablé con la manager no me hizo caso. Entonces vine aquí con Saje, porque yo sabía que Saje me iba a ayudar. Gracias a la ayuda que tuve con Saje, ahí fue donde la manager del edificio tomó la decisión de escuchar a como 4 o 5 personas de ahí del edificio. Mucho me impactó de que no me dejaron sola en ese problema, porque fue un problema muy grande, porque gastaron mucho dinero cambiando tuberías, arreglando adentro del apartamento, y eso a ellos no les pareció. Ese fue mi impacto, de que nunca me dejaron sola, y hasta la fecha me siguen ayudando, y yo sigo viniendo y aprendiendo más y ayudando a otras personas que sufren por ese mismo problema. Yo me involucré con Saje porque sabía que Saje es una organización no lucrativa que ayuda a los inquilinos que no tenemos no tenemos el dinero como agarrar un abogado o algo para nosotros sobrevivir, sino que Saje te ayuda gratuitamente. Y Saje se empezó a involucrar con ese edificio y yo con ellos.
Sage wasn't founded by one person. Sage came out of a series of meetings between community and labor organizers in the 90s about how to build a popular education center that could support movements in Los Angeles. We brought people together to talk and think about financial issues We were an economic justice organization, and that was one of the places we started. So we brought people together in the community.
Llegué aquí en el 2003. Llegué feliz porque tuve un viaje muy difícil. Tenía tantas cosas en mi cabeza pensando planes. Pues cuando llegué a mi apartamento me sentía muy feliz porque mis hijos estaban libres, tenían su espacio, estaba muy bien. Mi rentero me había echado la policía, los bomberos, las trabajadoras sociales. El dueño había querido atropellarme con su carro, pero yo me fui a la policía, pero la policía me dijeron, señora, no le hicieron daño, no podemos tomar su denuncia. Entonces, como no me moví y no hice nada, el señor pues echó las trabajadoras sociales para quitarme a mis hijos. Ese día pues era demasiado estrés, mucha preocupación, me caí. Tenía que recoger a mi hija en el daycare, me acuerdo que yo estaba sangrando, no tenía dientes, se me habían rompido los dientes. Por tanto estrés pues iba llorando y digo, ¿por qué a mí me pasa todo esto? Entonces, en la esquina del parque, me encontré una señora y me dijo, señora, tiene que buscar ayuda. ¿Alguien le pegó? Le digo, no, nadie me pegó. Por tanto estrés, me caí en la casa y ahora no sé qué hacer. Y me dice, señora, yo mañana la llevo a una clínica comunitaria. La doctora no sé qué hizo, pero alguien de Saje llegó a visitarme. Me acuerdo que le abrí la puerta a alguien de Saje y me dice, señora, no se preocupe, no tiene que correr. Y de ahí le dije todos mis problemas y me dijo, no se preocupe, usted tiene su derecho. Pues estos son los documentos que recibo de los dueños. Pero yo voy y los llevo en Saje y ellos me dicen, tranquilízate. No pasa nada, hay que contestar esto, solo hay que contestarlos, todo está bien. Y estos son comprobantes de que a veces yo pago la renta y ellos me regresaban el dinero. Después me estaban cobrando otra vez y cobrando otra vez, pero la intención de ellos era llevarme a corte. Y todo el tiempo recibía papeles de ellos, pero yo al recibir un papel dije, ¿ahora qué quieren? Pero yo llevándolo a Saje, me decía, no te preocupes, solo son cosas. Lo más difícil es luchar contra los departamentos de niños, porque ellos pensaban que yo no era una buena persona. Me quedaba con mis hijos porque el departamento niño no le interesa si tú tienes problemas con el dueño o no tienes. Ellos van a pensar que tú no estás pagando la renta. Ellos nos van a estar pensando que los dueños quieren subirte la renta y sacarte y meter personas nuevas. El sistema de apoyo es porque siempre tenía Saje ahí y me decía, acuérdate que tú tienes derecho, acuérdate que tú eres una buena persona, estamos aquí para apoyarte. Ese tiempo pues me dio mucha fuerza para involucrarme más en el proyecto del People's Plan, porque yo tenía tanto hostigamiento, la señora había vendido, llegó otro dueño lo mismo y otro dueño lo mismo, y me daban muchas ganas de involucrarme en el People Plan, porque ahí había muchas protecciones para los inquilinos. Me animaba a eso, me acordaba lo que me hacía la señora y digo, ay, tiene que pasar esas reglas.
I played a role in help developing the plan with the information I had in my personal experience, not having affordable housing as well. We were used to having meetings like for the org once a month or probably like an event once a month, but this was like a serious call to action where literally day in and day out for more than 8 hours a day, we're door knocking and getting this information out to folks to turn out and voice their input. A lot of people are socially aware. They just don't have the dialogues every day, all day, to really make them want to be motivated to do something. The future holds us being able to understand how law is created, legislation is created, starting with that local level because it impacts us like immediately, hitting the state and hitting the federal.
One of the benefits of all the crappy stuff that's being done to our community is being done by human decisions. that means human decisions can change it. That means we can mobilize to create the will for a different outcome.
The big challenge is that land use policy and land use law can seem really intimidating and daunting. Because on one level, it's a very technical, technocratic, legalese sort of set of standards. But if you get right down to it, it's actually land use policy is the rules for development, right? It's the rules for the built environment. So if you care about things like gentrification and displacement, access to park space, education, then you care about what gets built and where it gets built, and that's what land use is. And so really one of the challenges is making sure that decision makers understand that the best planners and the experts are actually the residents themselves, the folks that are living in these communities. They understand what works, what doesn't, what the priorities are and what they need. And so it's really about taking that expertise that already exists and lifting it up so that it can meaningfully impact the policies that are written in City Hall.
My top 3 key ingredients to confronting barriers that are imposed on communities like ours. I would say persistence of vision, that it isn't a romp in the park, it's a long-term strategy. Treating people with dignity and respect at all times, and organizing around it, and organizing people to generationally to be the stewards of every win that we achieve.
Yo primero tuve que escuchar, oír y aprender para que me tomaran en cuenta. Para tener voz, tenía que hacer algo para que yo fuera reconocida como una líder, para que viera la comunidad lo que se hizo y así creyeran en mí.
Pues ahorita cuando encuentro otra persona que miro que tiene el problema mío, porque todas las personas tienen el mismo problema, más que lo llevan diferente. Entonces me identifico con ellos y le digo, mira, esto me pasó a mí, eso yo pude vencer, tú puedes vencerlo, ve a buscar ayuda en Saje. Y los llevo a Saje y me hacen volver a recordar una y otra vez mi historia.
Nipsey Hussle, I almost could bring myself to tears. Nipsey Hussle was a genius. This whole ideology of like not moving out your community, staying there, go get educated and come back. Nipsey Hussle was already doing that. He knew what time it was. That was his community, that he was safe, providing jobs. I should be able to create something that creates money for folks in the community, give them jobs. He was doing these things. To take the hustle mentality from gang banging or the streets, for him to be able to take that and flip it to the marathon and not only make it about hustling and motivation to get where you need to go from an economic development standpoint so you could gain wealth or gain riches, but to really do critical self-reflection and dig deep in oneself as well. He embodied everything that we talk about in the organizing field. He did it. As someone who's from South LA, I think for my kids, for the next generation, I would like to see South LA as a metropolis of black folks again, and brown folks. All of this investment means the investment is coming. I hope the right investment comes. I don't want to have to go far north to the mall. I don't need to go past the 10 freeway. We have a lot of land and a lot of opportunity in South LA, and I would like to really see it there so that I don't have to move. I would like to have generations of my family still there, for sure.
To change conditions in America and the society that we live in, the fight for change doesn't happen with one campaign. It's a lifelong struggle. It is a marathon, it's not a relay race. And to do that requires you to see the value in that change. And it can't be something that people are just teaching you and educating you. You have to feel it, you have to see it. You have to know that it's impacting somebody's life that you care about. You know, real change, real transformation. You need to be able to see it, touch it, breathe it, feel it, and then that's when you become a committed change agent for the rest of your life.
Mm.